On the street where an 11-year-old boy was shot continues to grow this afternoon. Families and friends and family have been leaving messages honoring Julian Guzman.
In our day, when I was growing up, you didn't get murdered for playing Ding Dong Ditch.
Now, we all played this game as a kid, and you cannot say you didn't play this game when you was a kid. Fugitive TV, we are back again, and I'm your host, Ray Marcel, aka DJ Kaseblazeit. And what we do here is we take a look at cases, we break them down, whether it's ongoing cases, whether it's something that happened in the past. And the reason why it's Fugitive TV, because hey, I was once a fugitive on the run myself, so I can give you an insight that a lot of other people can't, and my insight's open. I grew up watching friends die. Friends go to jail. I thought that would never be me, till the day I decided to pawn a TV that my friend gave me. That TV ended up being stolen. One thing led to another. Going in and out of jail, I escaped twice. I started one of the biggest crime rings in the state. 10 years it gave me. My 3-year-old son passed away during this process. I could not take it, so I went on the run for 15 years. Different countries, different names, I did it all. My life has been something you only read about in books, but this is non-fiction. This is me. So today we're going to start with the case that's happening in Houston, Texas, with, I don't know if you heard about this, the 11-year-old boy who was out playing Ding Dong Ditch. Now, we all played this game as a kid, and you cannot say you didn't play this game when you was a kid. I know I played it when I was a kid. The game is when you go ring a doorbell, or maybe you knock on somebody's door because they don't have a doorbell, right? It depends on if you was in the hood. Some people in the hood didn't have a doorbell. They knocked. But either you ring the doorbell, you knock, and then you listen for when they're coming, or if you ring the doorbell and you just take off running. I remember one time I was with my friend. He actually went and knocked on the door. He didn't even tell any of us that, and we just saw him running, so we took off running, right? So that is pretty much what the game is. Now this game is gaining popularity on TikTok. Yes, on TikTok, out of all places. We all know TikTok, it popularizes everything, right? But now this game is gaining popular on TikTok. So a lot of kids are starting to do and reinvent this game. So this kid was out in Houston attending a party. Actually, I think it was a birthday party, his family's birthday party.
Suspect Gonzalo Leon was questioned the night of the shooting, but so far he's not talking.
So that night he was questioned, didn't say what happened, how it happened, if he did anything.
Correct.
He's admitted to nothing.
Correct.
Julian Guzman was out with his cousin, actually, playing Ding Dong Ditch because they were at, I think it was a family birthday party, and they got bored, so they decided to go down the block and start doing this. Now, it was like 10:30 or 11 at night. It was late at night, and they started doing this, but he's 11 years old, and I think the cousin is 10. I think he's 10, so they decided to go and, ring some doorbells. So they rang a doorbell. They rang a few, right? And they were playing the game. Well, they got to one door, and supposedly when it got to this door, this is when all tragedy occurred. This is when Julian's unfortunate life would come to an end.
These are all dead-end streets, so we all pretty much know each other in this neighborhood. It's a small neighborhood, so that's what's very concerning about that, is that these groups of children were running around so late at night, doing this. Also, we're concerned citizens because this could also lead to home invasions. Home invasions do happen in this neighborhood. And there has been reports of home invasions.
Now, they rang the door of Leon Jr. That's the guy's name, Leon Jr. Leon Jr. is an ex-military veteran. Leon, I guess, didn't like them ringing his doorbell. Nobody does, right? But he didn't, and he basically pulled out a firearm, started shooting, and unfortunately, Julian passed away. Now, I'm going to break down exactly from the evidence what happened. So it wasn't like they knocked on the door, ringing the door, you open the door and start firing. It wasn't like that.
They weren't out being bad kids. They were just at a birthday party. It was a little before 11 o'clock, between 10:30 and 11. And it sounds like they kind of got bored of hanging out with family at the party, so decided to walk one block over and knock on a few doorbells. And it seems like they were recording on their phone to upload those doorbell ditches onto TikTok videos.
Supposedly, they knocked on the door 3 times. Julian was at the door. knocking, and his cousin was supposed to be had the cell phone, filming everything. Well, the owner of the house, Leon Jr., was dressed in all black and supposedly standing to the side on the outside of the house or something. That part's not clear, but he was supposed to be looking at them doing this the whole time. And then by the third knock, they ran off.
We do have a very good witness telling us the two boys knocked on the blue house for the third time. The homeowner was waiting in the shadows on the side of his house to catch him.
Saw everything.
So this is our witness. After that, he ran after the young men down the street.
And then that's when Leon Jr. came from the side of his house, chasing them and fired. Now, the kids are no longer on the property. They're actually down the street. And he'd start chasing them and then fired. Now, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that he's justified because they were at his house and he didn't know what was going to happen? Or do you think he knew they were kids because supposedly he was standing there watching them? So you think he just was mad and decided to start shooting? And not only that, he chased them down the street. So they didn't get, shot on the property. He chased them down the street with his weapon and started firing. Out of the firing, they never said how many shots exactly, but the cousin who was with Julian said he heard 3 shots, and the third one supposedly hit Julian in the back. Julian fell to the ground, and he was still alive at this point, but he fell to the ground, and he started screaming for help. His cousin was there, so his cousin went back over to him and started dragging him across the street.
Now, Guzman's cousin was with him at the time of the According to charging documents, they were attending a birthday party in the neighborhood with family. He told police that they got bored and decided to run around and knock on doors and run away as a prank, often called Ding Dong Ditch. He says they knocked on Gonzalo's door several times and ran. After the last time, as they were turning around, they saw a man wearing all black come out of the gate on the side of the house. While running, he told police they heard gunshots and saw that man extend his arm and shoot one more time at Guzman. That hit him in the back and he fell to the ground. His cousin says he had to army drag him across the road while he was screaming for help. Guzman later died at the hospital. Gonzalo's shooter, his wife, and their 2-year-old child were at their home at the time. A neighbor says a group of 4 rang her doorbell just hours before this tragedy happened, and she says she regrets not calling police.
His cousin was trying to save him in the middle of this guy, with his weapon firing bullets. So his cousin tried to save him and drag him across the street. Police showed up. Police came. When the police came,
They had come down my street, and I caught them on my security cameras playing the game. And I exited my front door and gave them a warning to not trespass. If I thought that something like this were to happen 6 hours later, I needed to call the authorities, and that is my biggest advice for residents.
We believe that this is an intentional and knowing act. This wasn't reckless behavior. This was a direct shot to the back of an 11-year-old who was running away.
Harris County District Attorney Sean Tier talking about of 11-year-old Julian Guzman. He says investigators put together pieces of evidence to make an arrest, in part based on an eyewitness, Julian's cousin, who was knocking on doors with him that night.
As it sits right now, he hasn't identified this defendant in anything other than types of clothing that he was wearing and where he came out of the backyard.
they took him to the hospital, and that's where Julian passed away, unfortunately. Now, in a result of that, they ended up raiding Leon Jr.'s house. They raided his house. They found, I think it was over 20 guns in his house, they said. It was over 20 weapons they found in his house. And I told you, he was also an ex-military, or he's a military veteran. And he had a lot of AR-15s, rifles. Now, I'm not saying this is, you're not supposed to have this stuff, but
investigators recovered more than 20 guns from his home yesterday, along with smoke grenades. Detectives say he was watching and waiting for the boys to show up at his doorstep.
I don't know, just wonder, why do you need so much? So they raided his house. He didn't get arrested right away. So after they raided his house, Leon Jr. ended up leaving with his wife, and it ended up going to a hotel, had bags packed for days, and that's where he supposedly got arrested at. So some people are thinking that maybe he tried to take off, he tried to flee.
Our SWAT team located him and his wife in a hotel room in LaPorte, Texas, booked for 3 nights with a car packed. I don't know if they're going to try to leave town, but in my opinion, it's weird that the day that we're coming to serve an arrest warrant, your car's packed and you got a 3-day stay at a hotel room.
His defense, he's saying that he left the house in fear of his family was in danger because people obviously didn't like what happened, right? So he's saying, which is understandable. He said his family was in danger, so he left the house. That's what he's saying. Police are thinking he tried to leave. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think he tried to leave? Do you think, or he was really moving or going to the hotel because his family was in danger and, not going to leave? But do you think he was justified for what he did? Do you think what he did was right? I was also reading online. And online, a lot of people are blaming the parents. A lot of people are saying that these kids shouldn't have been out at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think they should have been out at 11 o'clock at night? Now, I'm not going to blame the parents whatsoever for what happened to Julian. I'm not going to, and even a cousin, because he experienced something dramatic. I'm not going to blame them. If anybody's to, first of all, the kids are playing a game, right? And like I said, we've all played this game. But if anybody's to blame, wouldn't it be Leon Jr. for running down the street after them with his weapon?
Tier says another crucial piece of evidence is Julian's cell phone. Investigators say he was recording when he knocked on the suspect's door and ran. Police say you can hear shots fired on the phone, and sadly, Julian gasping for air after he was hit.
There is no way that little boy was posing a threat to the defendant or anyone in his house. And he was running away, and he was on a public street. This is not a manslaughter. This isn't a standard.
And running down the street chasing these kids, 11, 10 years old. I mean, you had to know they were children, right? You had to know. What do you think? They were just small people? So you had to know. So I wonder what was going on in his head. Was he angry? Did he have a bad day that day? What happened with that? Yeah, there's a GoFundMe right now for Julian to help pay for the funeral expenses. And supposedly there's a GoFundMe out there floating around for Leon Jr. to help pay for his legal, expenses. Some people are got to have the back of Leon Jr., and I'm not going to fault you and say you don't need to have his back but the whole situation is sad. I do fault him for running down the street chasing him. That part shouldn't have happened. Now, I am going to read the law, the Texas law, what it states on the stand your ground law. So I'm in Florida, and Texas also has a stand your ground law, just like Florida does, where if a person comes to your property, you feel endangered, you feel any of that stuff, you can stand your ground. And if you stand your ground, that was how that's how a lot of people get off in Florida, is standing your ground because they feel endangered pretty much, or endangered, or their life is threatened. Now, do you think he felt his life was threatened even though he's chasing them? They're not chasing him. So yeah, we're going to get into what the law says, Texas law. All right. So here is the law, the Texas law for stand your ground. All right. So when you Google it, it says Texas law permits individuals to use force, including deadly force, in self-defense without a duty to retreat, when they reasonably believe it is necessary. So basically, when they think that you're cornered and you can't retreat and it's necessary, that's when you can use, deadly force. And it's used to protect themselves or others from unlawful force. So unlawful force, meaning somebody's trying to break into your house or something like that, particularly when in their habitation, vehicle, workplace. So if you're at home, your car, or even at work, you're allowed to. This is Texas law, not every law, Texas, okay? This stand your ground concept, also incorporating the Castle Doctrine, allows for the use of force to defend against imminent threats or serious bodily harm or death, provided the force used is reasonable and not excessive under circumstances. The key aspects of Texas stand your ground law: no duty to retreat. You're not legally required to try and escape a threat before using force in self-defense. So basically it's saying if somebody's breaking into your house, you don't have to run out the back door. If somebody's breaking into your house, you're allowed to use the force. You're allowed to use it. That's what it's saying. You don't have to try to escape first. Location specific, the ability to use force without retreat is particularly emphasized in your habitation, which is your home, vehicle, or place of employment. So if you're working at McDonald's, I guess you're allowed to use it. You must also reasonably believe that the force used is necessary to protect yourself from unlawful force. So pretty much that is what it is. Now, let's look at this. I'm going to Google stand your ground. All right, so I Googled Texas law for stand your ground if the threat, so which means the person you're scared of or endangered of or, is running away. In Texas, you cannot typically claim the stand your ground defense if the threat is running away, as the threat must be immediate and ongoing. While Texas does not require you to retreat, a reasonable belief that the force was necessary to stop an immediate threat is central to the law. Using force against a retreating individual is usually not considered justified under the Texas law. So once again, if the person is running away, that is when you're not standing your ground. They're running away. So they're running away from your ground. So you don't even have to stand it. Now let's take a look at some. All right. So let's take a look at this article real quick. All right. New details emerge in door knock prank homicide of an 11-year-old Texas boy. At least 20 firearms, so they found 20 firearms, including several AR-15 rifles, have been seized by the police from the home of a Texas man charged with the unaliving an 11-year-old who banged on his door as a part of a prank, right? The suspect, 42-year-old Gonzalo Leon Jr., was ordered during a hearing on Wednesday to be held on $1 million bond. So he has being held on bond right now, $1 million. Judge Emily DiToto of the 177th District Court in Houston said during a hearing that she set a high bond due to the possibility that more serious charges could be brought against Leon, including capital. So we're all waiting to see if more serious charges, if that's going to happen. Firearms and use of firearms is not the answer. Whether you're on the freeway getting cut off or you're in your neighborhood and you got a group of kids, you can't utilize, and this is what the district attorney said. So this happened around 11 p.m., like I told you. Now, the prank is similar to a door kicking challenge trending on social media sites. Now, there's a door kicking challenge going on right now because I do know some parts of my neighborhood was experiencing that, where the kids will go and pretty much kick your door like they're kicking the door down. Is what happens. Now that one, somebody think you're really breaking into their home. They probably are going to fire at you. So the door kicking challenge is trending on social media sites, including TikTok, in which groups of kids record videos of themselves kicking and banging on doors of homes and apartments before running away. And then they post the videos online thinking it's a big joke. Julian's cousin, who was not identified in court records, told investigators that he and Julian had been at a birthday party in the neighborhood when they began bored and wanted to ring doorbells or play ding-dong ditch. The cousin told investigators that he and Julian both went up to Leon's blue house, knocked on the door, and ran. According to the complaint, the cousin told investigators that the sound of shots caused him to look back at the house they were running from, where he saw a person. He described as wearing all black, extended his arm, and also started firing his weapon. Now remember, he also has all this on cell phone footage too. All this is on his cell phone. The cousin said he saw Julian collapse to the ground asking for help, believing his legs were paralyzed. The court paper said the cousin said that as he screamed for help, he observed the shooter slowly walk back to the blue house. Julian then was taken to the hospital, where he passed away, unfortunately. Leon, who lives at the home with his wife and their young child, was detained for questioning in the immediate aftermath of the shooting and released. Once the case was elevated to a homicide, Leon was detained again as a suspect on Sunday evening by SWAT team at a hotel outside of Houston, like I told you guys earlier. Police served a search warrant on Leon's home. They seized all those weapons, right? During Wednesday's court hearing, prosecutors requested that the high bond for Leon, so that's why he got the $1 million, or I should say $1 million bond. And I mean, that's pretty. It's really a sad situation. It really is. There's also other. I know this one's really in the headlines, but there's a few others out there. I don't know what I did with them, but there's a few others out there too, where yeah, there's a few others out there as well where I think it's Virginia. Something similar happened, very similar, and this guy's being charged right now. There's another one that another guy jumped in his car and started chasing the kids and ran the kid off the road or something like that. I gotta look up that article. So this is not the only one. This is something that's happening around a lot of places. Now, like I said before, he is being held on $1 million bond. Do you think that's too high? Do you think there should be no bond? I mean, what do you think about it? And do you think he should be it's all justified? Now, I also gotta have to throw this in there too. He has no criminal record, but there was a charge on Leon Jr. for, I think it was terrorist threats towards his family, which I really have to figure out exactly what that is. But that was the charge. They never pursued the charge, and that was dropped. That was the only thing. His lawyer is saying that it was a mistake or something like that, wrong person, but I'm not sure. But that was a charge. But I mean, what do you guys think? Was he justified or not justified? I read the law to you guys. Sounds like to me he didn't obey the law. Now, if you were him, would have done the same thing? Rest in peace to Julian. This is Fugitive TV. Catch you next time. We're out.